Hi, I'm Lexi Mayfield, and I'm here to inform you about the cons of the death penalty, why it's wrong, and why we should get rid of it. Over the years, death penalty has taken many innocent lives who were not guilty, and lately we have made mistakes with these people's lives. And since these people's lives are actually in our hands, we shouldn't be taking it too lightly, and we're doing all these things without the proper proof or the proper evidence. Even with the proper evidence, having the DNA to even convict someone, people can still make mistakes with these things. They can frame other people, and the DNA can also be tainted. Since the reinstatement of the death penalty in the U.S. since 1976, 138 people, men and women, have been released from death row within minutes of their execution. A study done in Colombia, they have found that 68% of the people who were convicted and put on death row have made their appeal and were released due to bad lawyers, inadequate evidence, or bad testimonies with the different witnesses. In Herrera versus Collins in 1993, attorneys tried to add evidence to Herrera's case that his brother confessed to the crime, but the judges decided that it was irrelevant to their deliberations and they would not add it to his case. So the judge just wanted people to be convicted of the crime, and he didn't care who were being put on death row for these things. It didn't matter if the person was innocent or guilty, and it goes to show how the justice system is flawed. For example, two people can be put in jail for the same two crimes, but each person can get a whole different sentence that doesn't add up to the crime that they commit. And with all these things happening, the people who are getting convicted and are being put on death row are getting bad lawyers, or lawyers who don't care, or they just were representing themselves because they can't afford these lawyers, or they don't want to get the lawyers that the court appoints to them. And then there's also a specific law that is dedicated to jury tampering, so people can bribe the jurors, threaten the jurors, and then that can also mess up someone's testimony and their trial, and this can also get a person be put on death row. And then that also leads to the inconsistencies of the death penalty. People are being put on death row and they're staying on death row for 30 plus years, and they're not being able to either get an appeal, or they're just sitting there and they end up spending their whole life in prison anyway. And stated by the General Assembly of the United States, said that there is no conclusive evidence of the deterrent value of the death penalty, which means that there's actually no way to evaluate that the death penalty is affecting people and that it will stop people from committing these crimes. And take the Payne versus Netherlands case in 1996. He had eyewitnesses who testified on his behalf, and he even had video evidence to prove some type of doubt. And now, when you prove that when there is some type of doubt, someone can't be put on death row for something like this. They would sit there, be put in prison and there would be another trial to follow. But even though he came up with some type of doubt, they still put him on death row. And within minutes, the governor of Virginia decided to stop his execution before he was actually killed. And since we have all these problems, before we can continue with the death penalty, all these problems need to be fixed. Even though these criminals aren't sitting in prison on death row, they are still in there for life, and they're still paying for the crime that they committed, even if they took someone's life, they're not being killed for that. The criminals will still serve their time, but people still want the death penalty, and basically we're killing people who kill people because killing people is wrong. But even with that, even if we are killing murderers, doesn't that make us murderers too?